All right, Mo, it's I Pick the Topic Tuesday.
Let's do it.
Barry Larkin's in. That's pretty cool for you, right?
It's very cool. I think it's cool for my generation. I'm 34 years old. Here you have a guy who was a Red when we were kids, and he was a Red when we were deep into adulthood. You know, I think of my dad, and maybe you or maybe your dad had Pete Rose and Morgan and Bench and Foster and Concepcion. Not all of those guys are Hall of Famers. Concepcion should be. You know, Pete Rose should be too. But you had those guys, and you had their accomplishments, and you had, you know, things like World Series championships and obviously Hall of Fame inductions to point to. You had those moments. My generation hasn't had those moments. And we might get it with Ken Griffey Jr., but because he spent more than half of his career in Seattle, it's a different dynamic. With Barry, lifelong Red, Cincinnati guy, face of the franchise, always good, sometimes great. Just a complete player, but more than anything, he is my generation's guy. And so now if for future generations, for kids or whatever, he's the guy that I can hammer down their throats the way my dad hammered Joe Morgan or Pete Rose down my throats. I'm thrilled for Barry, but I'm really thrilled for fans like me who just grew up with the guy, watched him all the way through adulthood, and get a chance to celebrate his career unlike any other way you can celebrate an athlete's career.
Jay Gruden staying. Good news, right?
Yeah, it is good news. Look, a year from now, we could be screaming and yelling about Jay Gruden the way we did Bob Brakowski, but if you believe in continuity and you're excited about building upon what they did this year with Andy Dalton, you've got to be excited about Jay Gruden coming back. This is a good thing. Now, the offense has to expand. Dalton's got to get better. The personnel has to be brought in that makes those things possible. But yeah, I think Jay Gruden gets passing marks for year one as an offensive coordinator, and I'm glad we're not essentially starting from scratch here as we go into 2012.
Last question.
Yeah.
UC is pretty legit, right?
8 wins out of 9. Now look, this team still has flaws. We know that. We saw it on Saturday. We saw what the pitfalls of this offense can be. They're going to shoot a lot of outside shots. When they don't make them, they're not going to be a great rebounding team. They did go big a little bit more against Georgetown than they did St. John's. They're going to have to force turnovers. You can overcome the other team shooting a high percentage if you can get out on the break, force some turnovers, and get easy buckets. And this team did against Georgetown. Let's give Sean Kilpatrick credit. 18-5 since the shootout. Let's give Mick Cronin credit. The walls were caving in about a month ago. Since then, they have changed their style of play, which we've talked about. They've picked up 2 Big East road wins. Home court advantage in the Big East isn't what it has been in recent years, but still, nobody figured on this happening, and that win against Georgetown was immense because of what this team has in front of it. A game against Villanova, who's not that good this year, and then you get into the teeth of the Big East schedule. At Connecticut, at West Virginia, and then you have a home game against now #1 Syracuse. But to make those games meaningful, Mick Cronin's done a great job. He's done a great job situationally. He's done a great job in terms of leadership. Excuse me, and he's done a great job with this roster, which does have limitations. Last night they won a game. Cashmere does nothing. Gwynn gets hurt. Parker does nothing. Average to below average game for Yancey Gates. Foul trouble from Justin Jackson. Jeremiah Davis gives him nothing. And this team on the road still does enough things at the end. The coach finds some mismatches, and this team wins a good, close basketball game. We criticize, others criticize Mick a lot more than they should. I criticize him fairly sometimes. But if we're going to be fair, we got to give it up to the job the head coach has done over the last month or so. This team is on the verge of perhaps something special. You can email me, Mo at ESPN1530.com, or tweet me at MoEgger1530. Thank you.